Hi everybody, welcome back. For my next movie review, I'm gonna go from a horror story to kind of like a different kind of scary story. This is an old movie. It's got Farrah Fawcett in it. It's actually a hard movie to watch, but I strongly recommend sitting down with like your kids and watching this. I'd say this is probably it's not rated according to the back of this. But if they rated this movie today, it'd probably be like at least an R. I'm talking about this as Farrah Fawcett, The Burning Bed. I watched this movie in high school years and years and years ago, back in the dark ages when people rode dinosaurs to school. Just kidding. But anyway, this movie was released back in 1984. And I've seen this movie, obviously, in high school, but then I've seen it like a couple other times, and I think I saw it on Prime once. But I have to be honest with you, it is a really hard movie to watch. But it's, like I said, I would sit down with my kids and watch this movie. I mean, because what it is this movie actually talks about domestic abuse, and it's supposedly based on a real story. And it's, Farrah Fawcett's the star of the show. And she actually got an Emmy her performance in this movie was Emmy nominated. I wish it had won, because it would have been really good. Let's see. Who else is in it? Is Paul Matt plays her husband. And I tell you what, the biggest thing is about it, this movie talks about domestic abuse between like a husband and wife. The reason why I say you should watch this movie with your kids is because, it's called Burning Bed, obviously. What it is like, when your kids get to be like at least 14 or 15 years old, I feel like they need to have the conversation about, if they haven't had the birds and the bees conversation, you need to sit them down and have that conversation. But you also need to talk about, like relationships and like what's okay in a relationship and what's not okay in a relationship, and like healthy boundaries and stuff like that. I mean, granted, you probably have your teenagers roll your eyes and be like, oh, okay, mom and dad. But no, I mean, I actually watched this movie in my home ec class in high school, because like one of my home ec classes in high school, because I took like 7 or 8 different home ec classes over the years in my time in high school, and it was worth it. And like they had like one section where like I think it was my adult living class, my senior year, where we watched it, and like we talked about like what's like a healthy adult relationship and things like that, and like good relationships, and like what was like why you shouldn't do certain things. Well, actually, I know it's not the person my dad knew, but it says it's based on a real life incident. I think I looked it up on Wikipedia, and I think the incident that this movie's based on is about a lady in Texas that actually had this happen to her. I remember being a teenager, and my dad told me this true story. So I don't know if it's actually based on that lady or the lady in Texas, but years ago when my dad was younger, there was a lady was in a relationship with a man down there in Hazard, Kentucky. And what happened is the guy was an abuser, just like in this movie. And he beat her like a dirty rug on a regular occasion. I mean, he'd get drunk and he'd beat her. He'd come home and beat her and then pass out on the couch or something. And he was just this awful person, according to my dad. Well, one day, the lady just had enough of it and just was like over it, as we would say nowadays. Like, she was like, okay, I'm over this, And they had a little girl. This couple did. And what the lady did while the husband was out this time, she packed all her stuff up, packed the kid up, got out in the car. They didn't say, the woman didn't give any kind of indication to the husband that, hey, I'm going to ditch your ass, later or something. I mean, she didn't say a word to him, not a word, according to Dad. And then the guy came home, all liquored up, and beat her as normal. And then he passed out on the sofa as normal. Well, she waited until he was good and passed out. She had a can of gasoline or kerosene or something like that. It was gas, some kind of gas thing. She poured it over him, lit him up like a Roman candle, and that was it. That's what happened in this movie. And what it is this is told through flashbacks and everything from her, and it's like her on trial for her life. I won't ruin the ending of the movie for here, because what happened to the girl Dad knew, and what happens at this movie is different endings. So that's part of the reason why I'm not going to ruin it for you. I'm going to tell what happened to the lady at Hazard, though. Unfortunately, she was convicted. She didn't ride the lightning. I know, Kentucky's death penalty is lethal injection now, but we used to have the electric chair. No, she did not ride the lightning or get put to sleep like an old dog. She's still in jail, to my knowledge. Or she was 20 years ago or something, around 2001, 2002, to my knowledge. But what happened is the lady got convicted for spousal, or for murdering her husband. What's worse is the lady Dad knew, just like what happened in the movie, the kids actually saw the house on fire with her husband in it. The lady that Dad knew, that basically this movie could be almost based on her, she went to prison, and her daughter ended up living with a couple of friends of my dad's. And the girl was obviously quite traumatized from it. And, like, Dad's friends had to put this poor girl through therapy. I can't imagine what that kid went through. Seeing her dad beat her mom and then have her mom just snap and finally off the man. Of course, in this day and age, I think, I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on this, but I think I heard in Kentucky where I live, you're allowed to have battered spouse syndrome as an offense, in instances like this. But yeah, I mean, that's basically what happens during the movie. Like I said, I won't ruin the ending of the movie of Burning Bed for you. You have to watch it yourself. And it's an extremely good movie, but that's like the basic synopsis of the movie. And it's the craziest thing is I watched this movie when I went and talked to my parents about it, and Dad told me the story, and I'm like thinking, did you know what movie I was watching? And did you know that's basically the stinking storyline for this movie? And I told Dad, I said, Dad, that's the storyline of this movie. To this day, part of me thinks that this story might have been based on the lady my dad knew. Part of me thinks that, but part of me thinks, well, no, it's not, or probably isn't. But I'll never know for sure. Dad never told me. And unfortunately, I have no way of dragging that information out of him now. Dad is no longer with me. I have to say my dad passed away on the 4th of July last year of 2021, so, unfortunately I can't, go ask him, although part of me wonders, that'll be like my big burning question, or one of my big burning questions later. But anyway, I'm going to pause here because I got another couple of movie reviews to do, so I'll be right back.